As a person who reads daily, I have really been watching what the right is doing as far as these book bannings and coming for public libraries. It is very, very disheartening to see. However, I don't even know if their people actually read, considering how low red states are ranked as far as education. But that's neither here nor there. That doesn't stop them for coming for books and libraries. So this one is titled "The Rights Censorship Campaign is Growing More Ambitious and Threatening. Public libraries are the pillar of democracy. Of course, they're the right's new target." This week, the American Library Association released preliminary data showing a record surge in challenges to books in public libraries. The group found that 695 attempts to censor library materials and services and documented challenges to 1,915 unique titles from January through August. That's up from 20% from the same reporting period in 2022. And the ALA documented the most book challenges last year since it began tracking them over 20 years. According to the Library Association, the vast majority of challenges were to books written by or about a person of color or a member of the LGBTQIA community. The numbers serve as evidence that the right-wing censorship is growing, more sweeping, and becoming more systematic. It becomes clearer by the day that this is a political movement that is basically trying to shun intellectual freedom but fears it. So they said this is probably a significant undercount because it's drawing directly from news stories and reports filled directly to the association by concerned library professionals. A lot of challenges are likely not reported. A challenge may result in a book's being retained or restricted or removed from circulation altogether. Those challenges may not always succeed, but the uptick speaks to the intensifying efforts. These people are seriously coming for people of color, namely Black people, speaking on our history. They're taking books out of circulation that have been in circulation for decades. And they are definitely coming for the gay community. They are very, very open about who they are coming for. Particularly striking in the ALA report is the detail that public libraries now account for almost half of the challenge requests. In 2022, challenges to books in public libraries versus school or university libraries accounted for 16% of documented challenges. During the first 8 months of this year, they've accounted for 49%. It's not clear what's driving that shift, but the implications are serious. Banning books at public libraries affects not just children, but also adults. Toni Morrison's and Margaret Atwood's books are routinely challenged across the country, and removing books from public libraries is a much more radical act of suppression than removing books from school libraries. Setting aside for a moment the merits or lack thereof of right-wing censorship requests at school libraries, it's fair to say school libraries warrant some degree of special scrutiny because they're tied to state-sponsored pedagogy for children. But public libraries, who's sponsored by state funding, should be institutions of expansive intellectual freedom. It is out of control that these people want to censor books for adults, like banning Toni Morrison and Margaret Atwood. These books are in the public library. This is not a school. So this is out of control, and people should be worried. This is literally Fahrenheit 451. This is literally 1984. But you would have to actually read those books and understand what's going on in those books to understand the implications. The free speech group PEN America recently published a report that found that school book bans and restrictions in the U.S. rose 33% from the 2021-22 school year to the 22-23 school year. The report says that the removals were spurred by misleading rhetoric, and PEN America, like the ALA, found that book bans overwhelmingly target books on race or racism or featuring characters of color, as well as books with LGBTQ characters. And all of this comes as libraries are becoming sites of increasingly confrontational activism, including the Proud Boys coming to the library. There is no reason why librarians should be in fear because of politics. What's chilling about these developments is that they suggest that calls for censorship in response to so called woke culture aren't just MAGA rhetoric or confined to Governor Ron DeSantis' Florida, but are actually being put into operation by right wing activists nationwide. I keep saying these red governors, these red politicians are literally, they have a game plan. They are coming for education, they're coming for the medical community, they're coming for women, and they're coming for Black folks, they're coming for gay folks. They're literally coming for everybody. And it is like they're systemic. They have like a to-do list, and they are literally doing it nationwide. And people have got to see how all of this is interconnected. It's not just Ron DeSantis. I speak about what's going on in Florida because Florida seems to be like the game plan, like he is writing out the playbook. So you watch what Governor DeSantis is doing, and you'll see what the rest of the Republican politicians, legislatures, people in charge of the schools, you can see what they're doing. Okay, the data suggests this is not something that's going to go away on its own. It has to be faced by counter activism. The left must recognize the cultural significance of libraries and defend the principle of intellectual freedom and multiculturalism in those spaces. Libraries are supposed to be places where people go to open their minds. If some people want to want to keep minds closed, then that's their right, but they shouldn't impose such ignorance on the rest of us. I absolutely agree with that last point. Like I said in the very beginning, I am a big reader. The majority of the books that I read come from literally the library that's up the street from me. Last year, I read over 70 books. The year before that, I read literally over 70 books. We use the library for our kids. We're homeschooling kids. You start attacking, you start coming for public libraries, you squash so much learning, so much potential. And this is a taxpayer. This is a taxpayer place. So we should all have the opportunity to read books. Now, the thing is, people have the opportunity to not participate in the books. You don't have to check out the books. The books simply being there doesn't mean that folks are going to open them. But that's not the point. The point is censorship. The point is restrictions of freedom. And these people act like they care about freedoms. They do not care about freedoms. They want to squash freedoms. Censorship is the opposite of freedom. They only want freedoms that they approve of, and that is not freedom. But you guys go ahead, let me know what you think. Do I have any book nerds in here? How do you feel about this situation? Like, comment, share. If you like my videos, go ahead and give me a follow.